It's time to start your morning by taking 5. Here's your host, Matt McMaster.
You're listening to Take 5, a quick 5-minute take on the biggest things happening in Nebraska sports. I'm your host, Matt McMaster, and today we're talking about spring football. Nebraska's new defensive coordinator, John Butler, just got off the podium about an hour ago. I was in Lincoln, traveled back here, took a couple notes, so we'll get a breakdown of new DC John Butler's presser first of the spring. I think we'll hear from him maybe two more times before we're all said and done. Definitely a kind of broad strokes presser today. You know, they haven't been in spring ball long enough for there to be specific names being dropped. It's only been about, I think, been like a week now, 9 days-ish. I think it's technically, or no, wait. Today's Tuesday. It's been 8 days. Okay, it's 8 official days of spring football. So we're still very much in the early parts. We got a couple of more weeks to go until what used to be the spring game, what will now be considered the Husker games. So just kind of generalities. Really stressed effort. Effort's a big part of his defense. Said these spring practices have been a lot about effort and execution. Talked a little bit more about third down and red zone coverages. That's really been the base of John Butler and Phil Snow's message as kind of the two headmen of this defense that they want to improve from last year. Because last year's defense was good, but it definitely did have its moments in those two areas, in third downs and red zones, where it came up a little bit short, right? And if you're kind of looking, how do you make a really good defense a great defense? I think that is the appropriate step for this unit, is to get better at those two areas. Talked about how, spring, they've worked with their first down, their second down packages, and now they're kind of getting into the back end of the defense in terms of third down, and mentioned that they're going to do some things in third down and in the red zone, which he called the money downs, that a lot of teams do that are common third down packages, but where he's really going to make his money and really going to make his salary is the unique things that they're going to do. And John Butler's a guy who has had a tremendous amount of experience in the NFL and in college as well. And, he hasn't been a full, time Big Ten coordinator in his career. And this is an incredible opportunity for him. But really, those are the two aspects of this defense that I think he's going to get judged on next year, is how do they perform in those things, because they've been such a stress for when he talks to the media. So we'll see how, and I think these conversations, and I don't know if we'll ever get, specifics from John Butler in terms of what they're going to do differently, but I'm sure that these conversations will continue to develop as we get closer to the end of spring and closer to the beginning of the season. Something that kind of caught my ear is he talked about, he was asked a question, what do you want the personality of the defense to be? And immediately, without hesitation, goes, we want to make the quarterback uncomfortable. I love to hear that. That is kind of the bread and butter of any defense, right, in any level of football at this point. The talent at the quarterback position just across the board has never been higher in terms of the athlete that you're getting and their physical abilities. And so when you go into a defense with the mindset of, like, our top goal is to make this quarterback as uncomfortable as possible, not only from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective, I absolutely love to hear that. That's kind of his go-to first line. Hey, we want to make the throw with the football, just not feel like they're in a good space. And I think that if you center your defense around that mindset of how can we disrupt things as best as we can for the person who's taking the snaps under center, I think that is a really good base to start at. And so I was encouraged by that. And then I loved, I asked him about player development, and I absolutely loved his answer about it. I think that the tone from John Butler in this presser, and it's kind of similar to the tone of the offensive coordinator, Dana Holgorsen, is very serious, very straight shooter, very to the point, right? John Butler's going to answer your question. He's going to go into decent detail about it. If he doesn't want to answer your question, he's not going to, He's just going to talk about what he thinks is appropriate at certain times. But when I asked him about a player development and how does it feel as a coach to see a player grow and do the things and take the steps toward being better, I mean, he got pretty passionate about it. And the fact that, stated that it's kind of why he does it, right? That's why it's one of the greatest rewards of coaching is when you can give a player insight and teach them things and see them learn from those lessons and then so you talked about the snowball effect of, a player getting better, a player playing well, a player believing in themselves, a player believing in their coaching, and how that just leads to more progress and more lessons being learned and better play and enjoying the fruits of the labor. He talked about Donovan Jones last year, a freshman corner who played really, really well in the Pinstripe Bowl, kind of made his name, if we're being honest, in the Pinstripe Bowl last year. Didn't get a lot of playing time up until the postseason, but he talked about how he could see that coming from Jones. He could see the development. He could see himself getting better. And then, said he's got a lot of work to do. You want to see him continue to do that, but being able to see him play really well in the Pinstripe Bowl and a lot of his work being rewarded from that performance was a really great moment for him and the team. So overall, I like John Butler. I like what he's about. He's a straight shooter. He's a kind of presents himself as a hard-nosed head coach, but has a lot of really good answers. You can tell why so many people hold his mind, and call him a genius in such high regard. Just very much is who he is. You can tell he's a DC, which is a funny thing. Sometimes showed some personality, but overall, just really big fan of who's calling the plays right now for Nebraska as a DC, and I think that it was a solid press conference, and we learned a good amount about the coach, good amount about the defense, and you always like to hear that in these spring pressers. So I've been Matt McMaster, and that's been Take 5.